Good now, revolutionaries. This is the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show, and we are live. Happy Friday to everybody out there in the metaverse and IRL. We're going to get started in just a second. We've got a great conversation today. Can't wait to share more and hear what you all think. For now, it's a charmed life we live, a semi-charmed kind of life. Anyway, we'll be right back. She comes out and she goes down on me, and I'll make you smile like a drug for you. Do ever what you want to do, coming over you. Keep on smiling what we go through. One stop to the rhythm that divides you, and I speak to you like the chorus to the verse. Drop another line like a coda with the curse. Coming like a freak show takes the stage. We give them the games they play. So say, I want something else to get me through this semi-time kind of life. Baby, I want something else. I'm not listening when you say goodbye. The sky was gold, it was rose. I was taking tips of it to my nose, and I wish I could get back there, someplace back there, smiling in the pictures you would take. To a crystal method, lift you up until you break. It won't stop. I won't come down and keep stop with the tick-tock rhythm. I bumped for the top and then I bumped up. I took the hit that I was given, then I bumped again, then I bumped again. I said, how do I get back there to the place where I fell asleep inside you? How do I get myself back to the place where you said I want something else to get me through this semi-time kind of life. Baby, I want something else. I'm not listening when you say goodbye. I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The beach gives a feeling, energy feeling. I believe in the faith that grows, and the four-eyed ghost can make me cry. When I'm with you, I feel like I could die, and that would be alright. Alright. And when the plane came in, she said she was crossing the velvet eclipse in the sea, which tripped on the earth to feel alive. And now I'm struggling to survive those days you were wearing that velvet dress. You're the priestess, I must confess. Those little red panties, they passed the test. So I took around the belly, face down on the mattress one, and you hold me, and we are broken. Whew. Good now, revolutionaries. I gotta cut it off before the breakdown because I might break myself down. This is the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show, the official morning somewhere show of the financial revolution. We are waking up every day that we're here to smell the crypto, get your commentary, answer your questions, share some hot takes, and all of us, with what we learn, will rise up together. We got to write a better story because not everyone is taking that responsibility, but it's up to all of us. It's up to all of us. You know, that's my soapbox. We have got to tell a better story if we want people to see what we are doing here as something that matters to them personally. I'm your friend, Evan. I am the Scrivener at Faceless Labs, soon to be joined by my good friend and colleague, Mr. Alex Popovich, who is actively rescuing dogs. And I'm pretty sure he's in the shower as we speak. So you're welcome for that mental picture. And speaking of pictures, I wanted to talk in our opening today about a pretty popular picture that has been making the rounds in the NFT space. For everybody who is with me on Twitter, I'm going to pin this up to the top, and I'm going to bring it to the top of YouTube too in just another second. Punk6529 set a pretty big precedent yesterday for what I think they hope we'll see in the future of digital and tokenized art. That is bidding over $5 million on an NFT called The Goose at a Sotheby's live auction. And it's worth talking about just because it's, first of all, a lot of money. But in the context of the broader conversation we want to have today, I think it's worth talking about too, because there's all this talk all the time about how NFTs, they're dead. It's over.
They're only speculative. And while, yes, this is pretty much a piece of art, it's a JPEG, Punk 6529 has a lot of really novel, creative, and helpful takes on why they invest so much in tokenized art that I think everybody is better for listening to. So I pinned a sort of satirical one to the top of the Twitter space. Punk 6529 made fun of an article in Art News that Sotheby's 3AC bankruptcy auction nets 11 million in what might be the final hurrah for NFTs. Punk said, yes, this is it. One last buy of NFTs, then we turn off the power switch to the blockchain and go home forever. I just thought it was so rich. So rich. But Punk 6529 also gave a great explanation of why specifically they bought this piece. And I'm going to go ahead and pin that up to the top too. For everybody watching on YouTube, it's here on the screen right now. It's worth a good read. And it's the kind of thing that might inform you as you seek to share with others too. 6529 is just really great at saying things in a way that makes sense, not just for folks like you and me who are crypto natives, but to folks who have yet to join us. So I always recommend what they have to say. I think Beeple jumped on that train too and made some snarky comments about, yes, our JPEGs are done. We're all going home. It was never meant to be anything other than this. So I had a lot of fun with that, and I think everyone else here will too. Great way to get some news and entertainment on a Friday. And we've got some friends coming to the stage. What is going on, my friends? I see Bill is here. Bill, you got your fingers on the keys? I knew you would. Bill, I don't know if I showed you this, but did you hear this sound that I got? I threw that one on the soundboard just in case somebody has like a real bad take. Probably me.
Really good.
Yeah. How you doing, brother?
Doing well. How about you?
Man, I'm doing great. It's glad to have you. Glad to have you here. How about you, Neil? I see you just came up to the space. How you doing this fine day, my friend?
Doing fine. I'm glad I don't have to worry about selling NFTs anymore. So that stress now is removed from my life. So I'm very happy that Punk 9963 or whatever his name is put an end to everything.
Yeah,
so
it's over. We can go home.
About it. Yeah.
Wait, what happened? Are we done?
Oh well.
Wait, I missed something.
Okay, let me just tell you again, Alex. I'll bring back the screen share. Alex just got here. Welcome, Alex. We're glad to have you. You look fresh and you look clean. I told everybody you were actively rescuing dogs. Probably a lot more important than doing here. But if you are on the Twitter space, Alex, you can look at the top for the joke. The story we're talking about is here on YouTube. Yesterday, Punk6529 spent $5.4 million to secure this piece, the goose, of tokenized art for 6529 Capital. It's a piece by Dmitry Cherniak. And essentially, the proposition here is that it's a particularly historic piece of generative NFT art. And on a personal note, Punk has this tradition of buying from established collectors, from novel collectors, and is trying to build one of the biggest collections of on-chain art in the NFT space, a lot of which he plans to make, or they plan. It could be a man. I think it's a man. We don't know for sure. Zero. They're always doing kinds of cool stuff. But I thought it'd be a fun cold open because what I don't have on YouTube, but which is at the top of the Twitter space, is they made a great joke about it. They said, okay, because somebody, what did they post? Here's the headline. They said, yes, one last buy of NFTs. Then we turn the power switch to the blockchain off forever. Some reporter said it was like the last hurrah for NFTs, this auction. People jumped on the train too. They were like, yes, our JPEGs are done. So that's what Neil and I are riffing on. We're going home, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess thanks for coming to the show, everyone. And we'll see you some other time, I guess.
Yeah, Alex, but the joke's on you because I right-click saved all of my NFTs. So do whatever you want, man.
Well, I guess then
Rugged again.
It's finally time for me to officially rug Bill one last time.
Yeah, sorry, Bill. It was always coming, man.
It was always coming.
Bill actually rugged himself. He jumped down off the Twitter space.
Well, it's funny because Bill actually rugged himself in more ways than one.
How did you
Bill
disrupt
sent
it?
me a thing the other day who's basically just like, hey, this XP thing isn't working for me right now. Can what's going on? I was like, oh, that's weird. It's working for everyone else. I had a bunch of people test it. It was literally just Bill. So I sent it to Willem, and he's like, yeah, okay, cool. I'll check it out. Whatever. He looks at Bill's thing. He's like, well, didn't know this was a possibility. Never seen this before. But Bill somehow broke everything for himself only.
Oh no.
So what sounded like is that Bill was just doing his normal thing, and he queued up like, some interaction, and then somehow in the course of that interaction, it like failed, but it failed spectacularly and at the perfect opportunity to just break everything for Bill. And he couldn't use XP. He couldn't interact with any of the stuff anymore. I couldn't even manually send him XP or any of that kind of stuff. So Willem's like, well, I guess I'll have to, reinstate Bill's account from one of the previous backups that we have of all of, of everyone's game data and stuff. But it was a couple days old. And he's like, what do you think the odds are that Bill knows exactly how much XP he's supposed to have? And I was like, pretty high, pretty damn.
Probably 95%.
Sure shit. He knew exactly how much he was supposed to have. And we got it all sorted and figured out. But that was the closest I've come to actually officially rugging Bill finally.
Hey, Bill.
Ta-da.
Yeah, exactly. I actually think that needs me to bring out my own my sound effect of the day.
You should.
Just giving you the
I'll say
whammy
this,
bar.
On your point of right-clicking and saving your JPEGs, funny story. Like the month that I got into this, probably August of 2021, maybe July. My son had a bunch of his friends over, and he knew I was in NFTs, and his friends were making fun of me. They're like, "Dad, look," and they were just going on the website or like OpenSea and right-clicking and see. I've got all these NFTs. I didn't pay anything for them. And they were so like, in your face, Dad, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm familiar with the right click and save approach to NFT culture.
Well, here's a new one for you. Well, actually, okay, let me not get ahead of myself. We've got a lot of stories today. I wanted to give you a quick preview of the show, but I do want to say hi real quick to a couple other folks. I see that David is here. I see Homer is here. Brett is here. And Brett, I got to tell you, your corrupted PFP that Bill whipped up, dude, it's so sick.
Those things are sweet. Some very cool ones lately.
Extra shout out to Bill because you have done some really cool stuff. Can you plug where that collection lives right now on Frame It, and then give a quick 30-second synopsis? I think this is a great pitch for anybody who's playing Syndicate games, anybody who is interested in blockchain art, interested in the corrupted, all that stuff. Tell them what's going on.
Well, first of all, 30 seconds isn't going to cut it, but I'm going to give Neil a shout out, because Neil is my savior when it comes to the tech of the AI art. Hey, how do I do this? He tells me how to do it. So I've all the tricks that I've learned kind of start with talking to Neil. So big shout out to the OG.
Gurus are idiots.
Yeah. And then probably the biggest thing that is cool to me about it is each one of the pieces that I've done is sort of to like meld the player into the art. So they're scripts that I've written based on my conversations with the player. And then I merge it with art that they own from the corrupted collection. So it kind of has a personality to it. So Brett's was probably both a crowning moment and a pivotal moment, because I started blending the artifacts with the players, and that's where his kind of comes from. So that the art that Xerxes put out is absolutely phenomenal in Mid-Journey. It really bodes well for blending with other things. So that's kind of the genesis of it. So the biggest reward for me is that some of these people now permanently use them as their PFPs, which is crazy. It's like, cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And Brett is no exception. And I've got it up. I was trying to find it on Twitter, but I've got it up. Well, it's loading. I've got it up on YouTube here.
If you go into Frame It and type in corrupted, it's the do-it-yourself collection. So there's the corrupted, the TFM, There's the corrupted TFM corrupted. There's the corrupted artifacts, and there's the corrupted allies, and then the fourth one is a do-it-yourself, which is the corrupted X Legion, which is mine.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. They look great, and I'm excited. We've talked a little, and Alex, you and I really haven't caught up about this because I know you've had a big week. But Bill and I were talking about just how I think this could be such a great way to bring some of the individual, personal storytelling to life as people start to identify with and flesh out these characters through gameplay and through story, through narrative.
That's one of the events that I want to kick off next week. I guess I can spoil here for everyone. I want to start doing a like user contributions to the story. You know, like I don't care if it's an essay or, you know, the worst outline you've ever written or a comic panel or whatever. But I think it would be really cool to start collecting those pieces from people. And I'm going to use what I wrote for 1020 just as an example. I put up, for those of you, I don't know. Ooh, I don't have it handy, Evan, but on my Twitter not too long ago, I posted a short story about 1020. It was a little bit ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago it was, but I want more stuff like that. I think it'd be really cool to like compile these things into a book. For those of you who don't know, I'm massively obsessed with the game Destiny, and they have a huge series of books. The lore in that game is incredibly deep, and it's so intricate. It's very inspiring when approaching this ecosystem and stuff. So would love to like start, you know, accumulating some stuff, and it would be even better if it was just from everyone. So I want to get submissions and get them posted and get stuff shared and like mint things as little panels or one pagers or stuff like that. And, you know, let people like subscribe to the story with XP or with rev points or something like that.
Yeah, I think it'd be super cool. And before we get into some more of our stories today, one person I left out, but who you couldn't possibly leave out of our story, is our friend Lisa. Lisa's on stage right now. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Hopefully I'm going to meet up with you in a couple hours.
Yeah, did you get my message? I sent you a message.
I did.
Are you just coming to Memphis to go to IKEA?
No, actually, I was supposed to meet Neil. So this is the rub. You know, we kind of missed this combo. I was in Ohio.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm driving back, and so I just figured I'd stop by and, you know,
rugged by Neil.
Who doesn't love
Rugged
IKEA?
by Neil.
You know.
I mean, you got a point. They do have great meatballs.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, let me know as you're driving, as you're moving through the world, when abouts you'll be there, and if that's the best place. And
I'll give you about an hour out.
Okay,
you know,
that's fantastic.
Perfect.
I just can't wait.
But
can I get a picture of you guys with a pumpkin?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, let me just get one real quick.
Just find yourself a pumpkin. I guarantee IKEA sells decoration pumpkins. I guarantee it.
They probably do.
They do, I'm sure. But Bill, I thought we were friends. I don't have none of these corrupted.
Wow, Bill.
We shall talk. We shall
All
talk.
Right.
The women are coming out in full force. I've got the some templates for you, so we'll talk.
Not ideal.
That's all I'm saying, Bill.
Rugged by Bill.
Rugged by Bill.
It
Everybody's
just takes
rugged.
time. It takes time, you know. So each one is a labor of love.
A labor of love, indeed.
I got to do some tinkering now. Bill and Chris are both beating me up in the arena.
Yeah, I saw your team though. You got a big old team there. It's like you're playing to win or something, man.
Yeah, team's
Chris,
good, but
Chris beat me pretty good.
These nerds have, Chris's is pretty gargantuan. These nerds have outclassed me, so now I need to go back to the drawing board. Yeah.
Well, hey, you still have time. The season just started, and if you are listening and you are not yet playing the Syndicate games,
what are you talking about?
What do you mean? What am I talking about? Are we in the sandbox or are we in the season?
Right, we're in the sandbox.
I thought we're in the seat. Listen, man.
No.
Why'd you let me talk?
I don't know. Who gave you a microphone? No, we're getting ready for Fight Night. Fight Night is Monday, the first one.
Yeah, that's right.
Of the sandbox. Yeah.
So there's lots of time for you to get in and get involved if you're not playing the Syndicate games yet. If you are playing, we can't tell you how much we appreciate it, because we are going through season by season and iterating this game with help from people like Bill, people like Chris, like Brett, Lisa, everybody who's here, David. You guys are instrumental, and I can't say thank you enough. I actually had a great conversation with someone the other day who was, I hope they'll be by the show one of these weeks. I'd love to talk with him about it. He's doing a blockchain gaming product where the NFTs, like ours, are your game pieces. It's a PvP strategy game, and they've got a couple of different traits. And I said, hey, man, we could talk a little about that. And it was just a really cool concept. It was Buccaneer something. It's like pirate themed, and it's all to benefit an organization I was not familiar with called DAV. Alex, do you know this? Disabled American Veterans. You familiar with that?
I sure don't. I just came off of a loud dog barking episode, so I missed the first couple things you just said.
No, it's okay. I was talking to somebody who's building a blockchain game where the NFTs are pieces. And I was just building it as a segue to talking about the different kinds of things that we are seeing more and more models for. Gaming is one of them. All the time, we're just starting to see little pieces of integration, and then I'm sure it's going to happen all at once. Did you see? You've seen that game Up Only or Only Up?
Up Only.
Everybody's playing. Apparently, and you may already know this, but I learned the other day that it was the same studio that did that had some involvement with Goblin Town, the NFT, and there were apparently a bunch of Goblin Town Easter eggs all over that game. And I was like, wow, that's great advertising. That game is having a moment right now.
Yeah,
and so
everywhere.
simple too.
Yeah, simple to theoretically simple. Challenging, of course, to win.
Yeah.
Also, interestingly, apparently quite simple to put together.
Interesting
stuff from Sam about building that kind of particular thing. But no, I thought it was pretty neat.
Yeah. So NFTs are starting to fulfill on their promise. They're making good on their promise. And honestly, that's kind of the theme of the space today is a lot of promises are coming to fruition. And we wanted to talk about a couple of them. We're going to get into the ETF. If you haven't heard about it, if you're living under a rock, Blackrock has filed for the first Bitcoin spot ETF. And we want to talk about that. We want to talk about the congressional hearings that have been happening. We want to talk about the SEC and this kind of perfect storm that's converging in our semi-charmed life. But the first thing I wanted to tell you about is more of a neat to know, stay tuned for the future educational opportunity kind of thing. Okay. So check this out. If you don't know, Louis Vuitton has launched their third NFT collection, and it is called the Via Treasure Trunk. Okay, they made 100 of these trunks. That's what Louis Vuitton has been doing forever. They've been making suitcases that are way too expensive, but very valuable because of their rarity, because of their quality, and so on and so forth. They've made 100 of these trunks, and they have created token twins for all of them. The trunks and the tokens are all visually unique. And of course, the tokens are provably unique and help to make the physical trunks more provably unique. But I want to talk about two things particular, because this drop has incorporated two types of token technology that we haven't seen a lot of, one of which people have talked about a ton, and the other, I don't think anybody's really talking about much yet, but which I expect to see a lot more of. I want to share about it. And then Alex, I want your take. I want everybody's take. And I'm going to drop you just a quick resource so that you can get up to speed with this new innovation. It's called ERC 6551. And if you give me a second, I'll drop another thread. I put one about the Louis Vuitton Via program, but I'm also going to put one about this protocol. So ERC is a token standard format. And anybody who is an Ethereum, they call them magician, can propose a new change to the protocol. And at first, these are just propositions. They're voted on. People ask questions. And when they are ratified, they become ERC token standards that people can use. They become integrated into the protocol, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there are almost 7,000 of these right now, maybe 8,000. There have been a lot, and they're all proposed by different users of the Ethereum network. And this particular proposal, which has been ratified and exists now on the blockchain, is called ER6551. Okay. And here's my tweet about it. Let's see if I can put it up on our YouTube page too. This is required reading and homework for anybody who wants to just see where the future of NFTs are going. But essentially what this does is it allows any NFT that is a 6551 to own and control other assets, meaning other non-fungible tokens, ERC20 tokens, actual Ether fungible tokens. And this is going to enable all of us who are building a game or a character with different traits and skins or an inventory that you might use somewhere to have that folder, which all the NFTs live under. And the way it works, just high level, very simple, is that most NFTs exist on Ethereum as data entries in a smart contract, but ER6551 gives each NFT its own smart contract. And that's what makes it possible for it to store other information like other NFTs on the blockchain. The example here is like if your NFT maps to a smart contract wallet that lives at a particular address, its own contract address, it can control any other NFT, any ERC20, any Ethereum token that is sent to that address. And it functions just like a MetaMask wallet would now, where if you want to move something, you approve a transaction. If somebody wants to send you something, they can just send it to you. And what I think is really cool for this particular use case is that, what is it? It's a trunk. Louis Vuitton made a suitcase. And so not only are people going to get this physical suitcase, they're going to get a digital suitcase that can literally hold stuff, other tokens. It's a suitcase. It's a suitcase, people.
I dig it.
And, I want to get into some other stuff about it. It's soul bound, which I don't think is such a good idea. But first, Alex, we've been talking about this kind of a thing, adding other traits to an NFT, evolving an NFT. And I think this kind of standard is going to really blow open those doors a lot. I expect to see a lot of people doing it, but I want to know what you think. What jumps out at you when you start to think about the possibilities for this, or maybe you don't like it? What are your thoughts, brother?
So real quick, for anyone curious, I just put a link to the Ethereum website's improvement proposals page about token standard 6551. If you want to check it out, it's a really, really, really good write-up on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this kind of for me falls into this one category of things that I'm really enjoying, liking to see. And I don't think you need to be an expert about it to appreciate just kind of the direction that this particular thing is going. And that's literally just giving people more options to do with their stuff. And that's kind of the part about Web3 that interests me the most, right? Is that if I start with the core idea, it's just better digital sovereignty and autonomy for users. That's the goal. And stuff like this proposal levels up that autonomy. So the things that I'm the most interested in learning more about, expanding, and supporting are any proposals on any chain, I don't give a shit which chain it's on, that expand that individual user autonomy that Web3 purports to want to push. So in that case, I'm super stoked about this. I do not know enough about it to have like an educated conversation about this token standard. Evan, you know way more about this than I do, but I think that the idea is really, really cool. And I think that it opens up a tremendous amount of possibilities specifically for gaming that I'm extremely excited about.
And I just want to direct people to another resource, if I can, that I put here on our Twitter space, but I'll put it in YouTube too. There is a conversation with Benny Zhang, who actually wrote the EIP, the proposal, and is sort of the steward of this protocol. He's its chief cheerleader, if you will. He was involved with the CryptoKitties team and has just had a really wonderful, cool history in blockchain, helping people do neat stuff.
For those of you who don't know, that is a very old school NFT project that was actually like semi-interactive and actually a little bit more utilitarian beyond just PFPs. But from the same era as the punks and the apes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, CryptoKitties, and he sits down with Chase Chapman, who I'm a big fan of Chase's work. She produces the podcast, hosts the podcast On the Other Side. You can find it on all platforms. I put a link for it there, and sits down for a really accessible conversation with Benny about ERC 6551. And he talks about, for example, how you might automate a personality, kind of like our friends at Alethea have talked about. You've got this NFT that has an AI personality in it and can own assets and hold other stuff. This new token proposal essentially makes that even easier. If you paired it with an AI, it could be, Bored Ape 1, 2, 3, 4 and tweeting all day based on a personality that you've set up for it and couched in its folder. So I expect to see that kind of thing. I expect to see NFTs interacting with each other in really interesting ways. Somebody was talking about the potential for generative art, which is kind of like an NFT native thing. Imagine you had an NFT that had a bunch of other art NFTs inside of it and had some sort of generative face that looked like all the pictures that were in the folder. People have done that before, but not on this token standard. I expect to see that kind of thing for sure.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, brother. I was just going to open it up to everybody.
The combination of personally curated artificial personalities mixed with this kind of like, ever evolving amorphous, abstract idea that are some of these new token standard evolutions mixed with a game. Like all I can see is the eventuality where a video game that you're playing reacts to your input and changes it to have a completely unique experience for every single person playing it based on the way that they move through that environment.
So that was actually something that Benny said was the potential for NPCs when stored in this kind of experience to create totally different interactions for every single person who plays.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's so sick.
And I was like, I was kind of struggling to grasp that. So essentially the NFT would hold like the basic personality ingredients of this NPC, which when you interacted with it based on who you were in the game at that time would cause a different response.
Yeah. Basically, just imagine imagine that you as the player, every time you interact with a new thing, NPC, non-player character inside of that game,
thank you,
you would essentially just be prompting a chat bot. And so, yes, it's operating within a certain set of parameters and a confine. Like if the NPC is the local baker in a village that, you're exploring as part of your RPG, it's obviously not going to start giving you like blacksmithing details. It would probably just tell you, oh, well, you're going to have to go talk to the blacksmith if you want to know more about weapon crafting or whatever. I'm just making shit up.
Yeah.
But that would be a pretty easy thing to skin and just have basically all of these NPCs plugged into, I'm just spitballing here, but like the OpenAI, API connection to all of these things, right? And then you basically have it through like a skin. Some of the interesting like AI products that we've been talking about are like specially curating exactly the chatbot that exists right now, just within a certain set of parameters, and then marketing that specifically to an individual who wants to use it for something very specific. So it's set up exclusively to give you recipes. And now all of a sudden it's a kitchen assistant. And you don't have to worry about tripping and going outside the confines of what yours is set up to do. Or, the one example that I've also used is something for children, where if you wanted your kids to be able to experience like how to use these kinds of chatbots and stuff, and then you had it set to only give certain kinds of information or to, curate and censor whatever it's giving so that it's kid appropriate, that also would be a cool way that you could skin it. You can do the same thing inside of a game with whatever the confines that your current NPC that you're talking about would have, which is incredibly exciting.
Interesting. Neil, I see you got your hand up. What's your thought, brother?
Yeah, very exciting. My brain immediately went to Alethea AI and what they were doing over there. I haven't kept up to where they are, but you basically have a online or a avatar, and you're throwing your ingredients at that, and you could take that and essentially make specialized NPC characters like Alex was talking about.
I mean, it's pretty huge. I would have to say it's difficult to overstate the potential for that, and then where it could take us down the road. Could you imagine if there was an autonomous NFT? Like we've talked about using NFTs as a better way to verify a person's identity or some kind of on-chain credential. And now there is the possibility for something which is autonomous or programmed, not human, not requiring a human's input, to also have a verified identity, to also verifiably own things, I think that's going to be that's what I'm kind of interested to see where this goes, and I don't have a clear picture of what that could look like.
Getting creepy.
Getting creepy. Let's get
I
creepy.
want my NPC to operate as Mac, so I'll be scraping his sources. Real quick on the same topic, Black Mirror just came out with their new season just last night. So if you are fortunate enough to have Netflix, I highly recommend you watch the very first episode. It's called Joan is Awful. Anybody that is in this Twitter space right now, it is right in your vibe. I'll just leave it there. I don't want to spoil anything. Highly recommend watching the first episode.
Yeah, very
Oh
excited
my gosh. It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, Evan, Netflix is a place where you can watch
listen. I know what Netflix is, okay? I have been on the internet once.
You need more than a dial-up.
I checked out this internet thing at one point
DSL's
15
not
years
for
ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hang up with you guys before I connect to it, but I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna watch
Evan,
it.
don't worry. You can't get it on your iPhone 2, but you can use it on your,
Yeah.
whatever.
When I was your age, the internet was called books, and we had to walk to get it.
Works for a tech startup. Everybody.
Black Mirror.
I give you Evan Man, Caveman.
But that's ERC 6551. If you missed it, you're watching us on YouTube. It is at this beautiful link right here. I've got it on Twitter. That's Chase Chapman. On the other side, a podcast worth listening to. She talks to all kinds of leaders in decentralized, you name it. A lot of DAO folks, a lot of people who are coders and developers who can break down these things in a really, for people like me who are not technical, friendly way. Highly recommend it. On the other side, it's a great podcast. I always feel smarter once I listen to it. And if you have questions about ERC 6551, I posted something about it on my page. You can comment on Faceless Labs. Let us know. This will be an ongoing topic of conversation. And you better believe as soon as it comes to a blockchain near us, or the next time we launch a project on Ethereum, it'll be something I'm sure that we're going to start thinking about how we want to integrate.
Absolutely.
Alex, man, do you think we should jump on into I would love to talk about this ETF.
Yes. I have thoughts.
Talk about what's going on right now, because I know you do. So I don't know if you recommend a particular article. I was kind of looking around, and it looks like a lot of people have been talking about it. And if somebody on stage has one, please feel free to pin it up in the Jumbotron. I'm going to go ahead and post it up. But essentially, Blackrock, the asset management company, has filed for a spot Bitcoin ETF with Coinbase as its crypto custodian. This is something that they've been teasing for a long time. It's kind of a reversal on what CEO of Blackrock, Larry Fink, has previously said about crypto. There's an interesting narrative arc there from when he called it the world's biggest money laundering scheme to now he wants to be the one to bring Bitcoin to the masses. And we want to know what you think about it. So, Alex, what are your thoughts, and what other context do you have for this that might help people understand why it's significant, why we're talking about it today?
Yeah. So, where to begin? I've been seeing, I've seen a lot of stuff, lots of opinions, lots of op-eds, not necessarily articles that I would point to as valid sources of information, because, like I said, almost exclusively opinionated. And obviously, what I'm about to say is opinionated, but I have a few facts to throw into the mix that I think are worth keeping in mind when we look at this. I think that all of us are a little bit jaded when it comes to thinking that anyone submitting a spot ETF application is any sort of a bullish indicator, because the SEC just swats those things away. They kick the can down the road as long as possible, and then they ultimately deny it. And right now, Gary is on a crusade to just torpedo the entire industry. He's all but said that. However, I think that if anyone has a chance at getting this approved, it's Blackrock. And all you need to do to, I think, bring yourself to that same conclusion is go to BlackRock's own website blackrock.com, and look at any of their political action committee disbursements, and look at how many senators and Congress people BlackRock owns. And there's lots of, for a group like BlackRock, micro disbursements that you're seeing on these types of sheets. $7,000 here, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, whatever. You can pull these records. They go back. I'm looking at the one for all of 2022 right now. So not this current year's, but obviously we won't get that till probably the end of the year. And let's see. I mean, dozens, senators, representatives, thousands and thousands of dollars given to all of these people. So here's what I'm thinking about. If BlackRock wants this, they'll probably get it because they donate to the campaigns of, I don't know, just on this sheet by itself, we're looking at dozens and dozens of representatives and senators, including just the entire like full party committees, Democratic committee, Republican committee,
You're cutting
whatever.
in and out, Alex.
Yeah, Alex, I just lost you for a second. Go ahead and say that again. Dozens of representatives.
Yeah, sorry. Is that where I lost you guys?
Yeah, that's where I lost you. You said we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
But I got you. So but like dozens.
Yeah, lots. The point is lots. I don't think that we would have any reason to think that any of these ETFs would ever get approved just because of who's the ones applying. You know, like, okay, yeah, sure, there's some big banks, there's whatever. But BlackRock is not really a bank. You know, it's an asset manager with trillions of dollars under management, and many of those dollars go into Congress people's pockets. If BlackRock wants something, they can pressure Congress to make sure that they get what they want. If Gary won't play ball and Congress wants to keep their job, Congress will oust Gary. I've seen a lot of people shopping around this proposal that was recently submitted by some representative,
Republican congressperson. Yeah.
Yes. I keep seeing very clickbaity titles that are just like Gary's getting fired. A single congressperson submitting a proposal means absolutely nothing. Anyone who doesn't believe that just needs to go look at how many times Marjorie Taylor Greene has filed motions for articles of impeachment to be brought against Biden to see that people in Congress making a single point proposal means literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. They do it just for fun. It takes nothing to make a proposal. So one congressperson proposing that the SEC get restructured and fire Gary Gensler means nothing. Nothing. There's a chance that it could get traction. And if BlackRock puts the screws to all of these different people who, for the record, are populating both parties, they are not choosing just Republicans or Democrats to bankroll. They bankroll everybody. Same thing with people like the Koch brothers. Koch brothers do a lot of bankrolling here. So you don't just want to look at BlackRock. You want to look at everyone who's got assets under management tied up in BlackRock's stuff and see how many of those people also pay for Congress. And I think by the time you get through the whole list, you're probably going to cover the vast majority of Congress, definitely enough votes to get something passed if they want to. Or they would simply probably just withhold funding next cycle round. And if you don't know, it costs about $10 million to run for Senate, less to run for the House. But on average, that's how much money you would need to raise to just run a campaign, including campaigns that you are running either unopposed or barely opposed. It's tremendously expensive. So
now
I feel like we have a pretty good chance of seeing this thing get passed, is my 2 cents. And the final deadline for the SEC to make this decision is 2 months before the next halving, which seems to me to be like a weird coincidence. And when BlackRock is involved, I don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
So it would be really interesting to see how this shakes out over the next 10 months.
So before we go further into it, you and I do see we got a couple of hands, and I want to get everybody's perspective on this conversation. I'm going to pass it to Neil first, and then it looks like it was Lisa, and then Deborah. And as I pass it to you, Neil, I just want to add one bit of context, which is that in the past, Grayscale, Wisdom Tree, Van Eck, ARK, and Bitwise have applied and been rejected by the SEC for spot ETFs, and BlackRock, which has now applied for one, has a record when it comes to getting ETFs approved of 575 to 1. Neil, on to you, brother.
Yeah, you're going to add a 2 to that as soon as they swat that thing. There is zero chance of it happening with the lawsuits that are going on.
Really?
The company that we're suing for potential securities violations, we're going to give them custody of the potential security that we're suing them over. No chance in hell that is happening. That's my opinion.
Interesting. Okay. Lisa, what's your take?
Sorry, I was trying to get back over to you.
You're okay.
Weird thing. I am in Ohio. I run into this toy conference. I go over to the Capitol because I love legislation, and I and I run into.
Sorry, for those of you listening,
Coinbase.
she's not being facetious. Lisa literally loves legislation and frequently, visits the Capitol.
Mine and everyone else's. But anyway, so I had to go to the Ohio Capitol just to see what it was like. And Coinbase was there presenting.
Whoa.
Okay. And I ran into Evan, I'm going to butcher his name, Karnopoulos.
Okay.
He's the board of directors of Avocado. And he was there talking about the blockchain and we don't bribing or legislating, we call it educating. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was talking to him and he's like, okay, so what's going on right now is we're getting a red state and a blue state. I said, okay, what's going on? And he's like, we went after Texas. We got them on board. And then I think he said Massachusetts. I can't remember which state it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Massachusetts. And he says, if we're educating them, the legislatures, on certain things. If he said the more we get on board, if we can get a red and a blue, he said we've got it locked up. So Polygon DAO was there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to stay for the event. I had to leave, but they're there presenting factual things. However, while I also was there, one of the senators came by the table and he's like, hey, so we have a meeting Tuesday, right? And that's code for we're going to go work this shit out in the back room, and then we'll vote on it later. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and if you pay attention, you'll see that there are big movers and shakers pushing for legalizing crypto everywhere.
Lisa, do you know if this is part of any broader coordinated effort? Like, I know Coinbase has coordinated some efforts, and it sounds like you said they were there. But I mean, is there like when a band goes on tour, the groupies know where to find the schedule, and you can follow Fish or the Grateful Dead all over the country on the road. And what I'm trying to think about is if I want to go show up in Tennessee or Arkansas or Mississippi, I would love to do it. I realize I can do it anytime, but I would also love to do it on a day when I know other people are going to be there so that I can network, I can support what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know if any of that is coordinated at that scale?
Yes, it is super coordinated. I do not have the link with me, but I can send it to you. But it's he also runs the whole, and I can't even remember what it was. I mean, I've heard of it. I've read his book before, but he's part of the consortium, and so yes, they are going around in different states and doing that, and it was pretty big.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's pretty cool. I'm sorry you didn't get to stay, but got to go home sometime. Thanks for representing us out there.
Again, it's the education that they're saying, but when I saw him talk to the other guy and he was like, "Yeah, we have a meeting Tuesday," that's where the work gets done.
In the room where it happens. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Deborah, I saw your comment earlier on YouTube. Wonder what all those naysayers on Twitter are going to be saying about this development, and I'm curious what you would say. Do you think it's a bigger deal, not so big a deal? What are your thoughts as you hear about this news?
It's huge, and I have so much going through my head right now. I hope I sound legible.
So far, you're crystal clear.
Okay. but I'm going to keep it as short as possible because we can't really discuss all of this here. The space would go on forever. So off the top of my head, I'm going to say I couldn't agree with Neil more on this development. Okay. For one reason and one reason only, and all the rest of them can take a backseat. Okay.
Okay.
Blackrock is an investment company. A bit more correctly, an investment block. They control huge, thousands, millions of stockholders. Okay. That they are over, that they quote unquote manage. But they don't really. They take those huge blocks of stock and they send it over to a stock management company that they pay a fee to control everything about, so that they don't have to deal with the minutia. And one of those things that the shareholders have to do is sign a statement saying they give up their voting rights in order to be able to have their stock handled properly. Now, I got to tell you, a lot of people don't even know that, okay? But what it basically means is that very few people at the top of that company with a yay or a nay can control all of that voting in one fell swoop for anything, okay? So I got to tell you, it makes me like so nervous right now. If there is one way to take over Congress without having to run for it, that's it. Okay. There is no way in hell anybody in this room right now or anywhere on Twitter or anywhere else should be willing to go along with this at all. It puts, that old saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
This will do it. And these folks aren't even in the block. They weren't. They're investing in it. They didn't make it. They didn't put the work in. If there is any part of your brain that is flashing a red alarm fire alert right now, this is it. Because it'll be the quickest way that the powers that be that we, the people, tried to start the blockchain, do the things with NFTs, is to take some of that power away and do something about it so that we can make it way better for the people. This is not it. It will never do us any good at all. It'll just get worse. Now, I'm hoping, as Neil does, that it'll never get passed because the people in Congress, I'm hoping, they're clever. They're not all that intelligent all the time, but they are clever enough to realize this is a power grab. Okay. And they should be on top of it. Okay. Because there's nobody in Congress, there's nobody at Fed level, nobody in our government that is that I know of that's willing to say, yeah, here, take it. Not without, it's more than bribe. It's like they're going to have to be willing to sign over to them, to BlackRock or anybody like them. A large part of how that huge of a block of asset is controlled. No, that can't be done. And I'm hoping Neil's correct. When I first heard about it, I thought, oh crap, here we go. Now, that comment that I put earlier wasn't for this. It was for what you mentioned earlier about NFTs with Louis Vuitton.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's in the same direction, because you mentioned that the word control in there, okay? And when it gets to the point of where somebody controls individual ownership and it's not the owner of that, I get nervous. I start, all my nerve endings are frayed. The myelin sheath on my nerve endings just kind of
goes electric. Yeah.
It's like I need some anxiety medication now, and I don't take medication. So, really, it's like, okay, you guys, don't ever give up your power on stuff like this, because it's scary. This is George Orwell knew it was going to happen. He just didn't know the vehicle they were going to use.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go from we the people to we the sheeple in one fell swoop like that. Really.
Well said. And
I'm done. I'm done.
no, very well said. Very well said. And I think I agree in terms of the doom and gloom. And I definitely see what you say and what you say too, Neil, about the unlikelihood that this will happen. And I agree about Congress being clever. That was something Alex and I were talking about. I touched on briefly before the show is they've demonstrated some sharpness in the last couple of days in some of the hearings that they've been having, really questioning the SEC really questioning other powers that be who want to get a piece of this influential pie. There's a really interesting couple of stories there, but the quick thing I'll say, I don't want to distract from it, but I forgot to tell you guys earlier about the soulbound thing. Can I tell you about the soulbound thing just real quick on the Louis Vuitton trunk as an aside? Because I just can't believe this. Those trunks, they're soulbound, meaning you buy one, they set up an account for you, and it lives there. That NFT lives there forever. And I just can't help but wonder, like, I get it. You don't want people to speculate on your Louis Vuitton trunks. You want to crush that. But that's like, I don't know. That like defeats the purpose of the NFT in my mind. Ownership. It's like buying a $40,000 car or something you can't sell. It's like putting a bumper sticker on your car. Only everyone on the blockchain can see your car in your driveway and see that you either had the influence or the money to pay $40,000 for this NFT. It's like a bumper sticker that says, I have $40,000 that I can spend at any time that you can't take off and everyone can see it. And I don't know. I just don't want everybody to see that stuff.
Not only that, you can't lease that car out and make some money.
Alex, Alex is muted. Sorry, he was talking to Deborah. You say I can't lease it?
Yeah. When you mentioned a car, okay, so if you use it for that perspective, okay, basically when you have a car like that, if you're not using it, what are you going to use it for? Personally, if you're not using it, you're going to use it to lease out so you can make money on it because it's an asset that's not producing any income. Then why are you doing that if you're not using it personally? It's just stupid.
I mean, okay, it may be stupid, but lots of people think like that and appreciate and like just having the flex. And that's just a fact.
I mean, you're not wrong about it.
No, of course I'm not. Do you remember how much Supreme sold bricks for?
Oh, I forgot about the bricks. Yeah.
Was there a secondary market for the Supreme brick? No.
No, not like,
Did that stop people from paying 10 grand for a brick? No.
No, of course not. Of course not. I don't know. Like I say, though, I would be wary about the same way I would be wary about wearing, I don't know, a big flashy diamond ring all around the city or whatever, just walking with a suitcase of money. You know what I mean? It's not like anybody's going to be able to steal it, but it might make you a target for social engineering. It might make you a target for other future scams, or even just for we've talked about this before. If I have an NFT that's a Bored Ape in my wallet and companies see it, they're going to start sending me all their crappy, spammy NFTs because they think I got money to spend on them, or if Vitalik's wallet, you're going to send him a bajillion trillion dollars of Shiba Inu. You know what I mean?
I'm going to jump in here, Evan, real quick, okay? Because basically the whole point to owning an asset is its basic utility. It has no value without utility, okay? Now, art is somewhat of an exception.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree.
I don't agree with that at all.
Okay, I understand that, you guys, okay? But we're talking about things now that you're presuming everyday average people are going to be investing in, using. This may be, if they do this, you may be right because only the very wealthy might do this. Because I don't know any of my neighbors that would spend 40 grand, okay, for something and do it over and over again and not use it. Okay. And not have any utility on it, okay?
But forget about Louis Vuitton.
Exactly.
Because I think it does have utility, but I think it's a red herring because there are other NFTs that will, quote unquote, not have utility, but which will be, most of the value in the world is not tangible, and it's certainly not fungible. If I had...
But it has utility.
No,
it has utility.
Utility is such a loose definition. If I had the ability to capture a picture of, for example, all my colleagues' faces on the first day that I played the voiceover for In the Beginning, There Was Only Darkness, or the day when Michael showed us the completed video trailer, that's probably only valuable insofar as our story is valuable. If we never go anywhere, that's not valuable to anyone. It doesn't have any utility. It doesn't do anything.
Okay, let me explain.
But it's extremely valuable to me.
Let me explain what I mean by utility. You ultimately control something. You control it because it has value and because you can buy and sell it to your heart's content. If somebody else is controlling it, they also have the ability to ultimately alter that.
So you're talking about utility like motility, like the ability to truly own something or do with it what you
That's a part
want.
of utility, and you never want to give any of that up unless you get something up front in return, because if you wait for it, you may never get it.
Oh yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I understand. I agree with that completely.
So I'm looking at this like basic, real basic, and the more complex it gets, the harder it is to control. One of the reasons that our society has the problems that we have now financially is just that. Okay. You need to keep it simple. The only reason you need to introduce complexity is the actual setting up the rules and regs. Okay. But not the rules and regs themselves. They need to be clear and specific, and they need to be fair. And by fair, I mean whoever owns the utility should keep and maintain that utility if they want to give it up. And if they want to give it up, they can sell it.
Well, and that's what
Why
prompted me to.
introduce-
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Why introduce more complexity over something when it's unnecessary? Okay. The point that you brought up, I jumped on it because you introduced something where you could actually lease it. In most artwork, you don't lease it, although some people do, but it's rare. And it's even rarer when you're talking about anything that's worth $40,000 or above or $1 million. It doesn't normally happen because to buy insurance to cover it, to make sure nothing happens to it or it doesn't get stolen or whatever, it gets to the point of where the utility isn't even useless. It isn't even useful anymore.
I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but I do want to push back on the idea of like there is so much more utility now that this technology exists. For example, if I might buy this Louis Vuitton trunk because I can prove that it used to be owned by Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal, which is hard to do with a coffee table. I might buy this Louis Vuitton trunk because I can prove any number of things about it, because it can store other assets in it as a folder, because I have this lineage now. I have a tangible marker of previously impossible to tangibilify stuff. I think it creates utility where once there was no utility.
Okay. All right. At this point, the only thing I understand what you're saying, but I'm one of those women that I think style and brands are important up to a point, but there is no way I'm ever going to, if I were a billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no way I am going to be paying 30 or 40 grand for a Birkin.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't either.
Okay, well, you're right. I'm just saying it's all subjective, but
okay, just for the record, here.
Underneath
for the record, you would, Alex.
No, I'm just saying that this I don't see like this being a particularly. This whole line one is anecdotal. None of us are billionaires. There is no way for any one of us to conceptualize what it's like to have $1 billion and say what you would or would not do in that position, given that power. Anyone who says that, that I know of. The other thing to remember is just that with any of these things, this is inconsequential and no one has a gun to your head. So just don't buy it if you don't like. That's the part about this. The reason that I enjoy all of these things is because it's just all we're doing is ultimately expanding options for people. And
but that's the whole thing.
But you need to do it with a warning, okay? People who
why
it's like we do with securities. We, brokers are required by law to say this up front. This is not good for everybody. Okay, it's speculative, and that's what I'm talking about. And there is only one reason to do this with an NFT. And
but would you make somebody do it with a physical Birkenstock or a physical Louis Vuitton trunk? Would you make somebody do that? Do you think it's requisite for them to do it with a physical product?
No.
Why?
Only if they still own it until they sell it. What they're doing is it's like a storage. They're like public storage, for God's sakes. Okay. What's a big deal about that? Now, I'm not putting public stores down. They make boku bucks. Okay. A lot of people want to buy their stock. But because they make money hand over fist, they're providing a needed service. The utility on it is off the chart.
I mean, are we
Okay.
just also forgetting the fact that you can very easily sell a soulbound token? Soulbound.
I mean,
like
you
that.
could. You got to
No,
sell the
we're
private
not.
keys.
But we don't.
Yeah.
We don't want the legislation to control any of this that the average everyday person would be using. Okay, that's an invitation to rugging car and salons. It is to just yank and to grab. Did you cut me off?
No. I think Bill was. I don't know if Bill was disagreeing with you. Are you disagreeing, Bill?
No,
Who's
Or that was the rug sound
Just a
effect.
rug.
Yeah, you said rug, so
Oh,
that's the rug
oh,
sound
okay.
effect. Yeah.
Okay, so he
I'll be
was
quiet.
adding
I'll be
quiet.
sound
No, it's
effect.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm just saying, okay, with what this legislation will allow without very specific regulation and cutoffs, it's dangerous. Okay. I don't think the average NFT creative, especially on Twitter, would benefit from this. That's what I'm saying.
Well, and the whole reason, honestly, I'm sorry I took us so far afield, but the reason I wanted to is because I think it's relevant to the whole broader conversation around BlackRock, around the SEC, and something we talk about a lot, which is who should be allowed to do what, who's going to set those rules, and what is the role of a regulator, what is the role of a custodian, and what freedoms and privileges do users, everyday people like us, get. And that's why I thought it was interesting in the context of this conversation, because whatever happens with this ETF, whatever happens with the SEC going forward, this is a conversation that we are actively having, that we actively need to have, but the space continues. It's not like we've hit the pause button. Stuff is happening. Innovation is happening. And I don't know. My biggest concern in all of it is that we will look back and say the sound everyone says when they learn something, oops, you know. It is my primary concern and why I wanted to double back on it. But thank you, Bill. Neil, I see you got your hand up, man. What do you think?
Would you pay $100 and take a 10-question test to be deemed an accredited investor so that you could buy cryptocurrencies
Is that the only way I'm going to be able to buy cryptocurrencies legally?
legally based upon the SEC?
I mean, I would probably try and find some way around it. I would get arrested for that. I that would help
Okay.
my story, honestly.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know. If Kim was in the room with me when I was answering that question, I would say, of course, Neil, I would do it legally and pay the $100. And for
But
any
if I'm
regulators
streaming live
listening,
on the internet,
you know, right? Exactly. I'm a fictional guy. I'm making just strangers sharing our opinions on the internet, as you would say. Would you do it, Alex?
right now, no.
Yeah. Why? Is it
Because
because
there is absolutely nothing that I'm particularly interested in acquiring right now except for Bitcoin, and I have my stack and I'm happy for now. I have
Yeah.
more pressing things to worry about right now than how I'm going to acquire more crypto.
Lisa, was that you? You came off the mic?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it like to be a VC accredited investor is like 200 or 300,000 you have to put in? What's I
I
can't
think it's
remember now.
100,000 has to
Is it-
be your net income for like the last so many years. And I think you have to be investing on a scale of tens of thousands. I don't know the exact number for investments though.
Right. So Neil's $100. I'll be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, right. And Neil billionaire, the presumable billionaire, you're gonna spot all of it, right?
It was I was listening to the All In podcast, which I listen to every Friday when the new episode comes out, and I enjoy the conversations that they have there, and they went down the whole SEC crypto fight, and they always try to come up with solutions, and they're pretty smart people, and they're venture capitalists. I mean, they sit on both sides of the aisle, but there seemed to be some sort of consensus. It seemed a little hoity-toity, like I'm rich, you're poor sort of thing. But taking a short test to make sure that you understand what cryptocurrencies are and the volatile nature of them. And okay, here's your we'll email you your registration card, and here's your number, and be on your way and buy and sell all you want. It was interesting. It was just something I hadn't heard of before.
I like those things you say about it, but on the other side of the coin, what I really don't like is what is to me one of the core tenets of the promise of cryptocurrency, that anyone anywhere can participate in the economy, can be their own bank, can send their money without anyone else's permission. I think that would be, for some people, pretty prohibitive.
So I found out the accredited investor, it's 200,000 a year or a net worth of $1 million.
Oh, it's an or.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I see it here on sec.gov. Interesting. Okay. And entities can qualify as accredited by owning investments in excess of $5 million. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to pass around a hat at the end of this space, and everybody can just, it's not a physical hat, so don't throw in real money. It'll just fall down whatever's in front of you. But you can put digital money in that digital hat, hypothetical money in the hypothetical hat. And, once they approve the ETF, we can just go to them and be like, hey, guys, we're liquid. I was joking to Mac the other day about VC funding. We were talking about, putting some of our stuff together as we're working on the different pans we've got in the fire at Faceless. And I said, what would be a really great way for us to get some venture funding? I said, I'm pretty sure we can just use our LLCs to open a series, whatever, or a pre-seed round. And we don't have to pay each other. I can just pledge, crypto investors doing business as Evan Michael Mann LLC has pledged $7 million to Faceless Labs, and there you go, for 10%. And now we've got a $70 million valuation just like that, and people will be lining up. Put the word AI in the title, and we're gold, man. And then we really can rug and move to Mexico, Alex. I hear it's even cheaper than that.
Hell yeah!
What is stopping this plan?
I think freedom and not going to jail.
Yeah, right. I like to eat food I cook myself. But it would be an interesting story, and they might have me on the All In podcast after that. I don't know, Neil. I know you talk about that show a lot, and I have resisted listening to it because I know two of those guys. I don't know them personally, but I just hear them talk, and I just don't feel like, as smart as they are and experienced as they are, I just don't vibe with their thing. But when you say it, it really gives me cognitive dissonance because I trust your opinion a lot, man. It makes me think, I gotta listen to it.
Yeah, I like to listen to people with very different opinions having thoughtful conversations. I find that as very valuable use of my time when I'm trying to learn about stuff.
Listen, man, I don't disagree with that at all. That is 100%. That's 100% right there, man. Alex, what are you thinking? What are your kind of, we got into a discussion about it. I don't know that we really gave people the news or even the helpful commentary in terms of what to look for, what to think, where to go. What are kind of your thoughts? Let's try and land this plane on Blackrock, on the hearings. Because just like that, our time is like flying by.
Yeah, maybe I should have made the disclaimer before I started on my diatribe about the whole thing, just to say that I don't obviously support or particularly care for BlackRock as a thing. All I'm saying is that if an ETF that has been submitted has a chance of going through, I would say that this one has the highest chance based exclusively on how much of Congress is beholden to them already. I would resent that Congress is capable of, as a whole, making a common sense and good for everyone determination if it means that they're going to, throw caution to the wind as far as their reelection campaigns go. I've never seen a reason to believe that that is a viable possibility. I would love to be proven wrong on that. It's the reason that I haven't moved out of the country yet, I guess. Despite recently finding out that I am actually not only an American citizen, and I do have an escape plan if I want it. So I would love to be proven wrong there. But I've never seen anything to suggest that that is the case or a viable, worthwhile possibility. So me saying that this has, in my opinion, a good chance of going through, again, is just my dumb opinion from me, a nobody on the internet. So take it with many grains of salt. But it doesn't mean that I'm endorsing the idea, or BlackRock or Larry Fink or any of those idiots or psychopaths. I also think that it's kind of funny that I feel like maybe I missed something, but we were saying, like, I hope Congress doesn't sell their souls to like support that. It's gone. They're done and buried. There's like 1% of Congress that are too junior to have fully sold themselves off to anyone. But it's the game that you play. I mean, just look at AOC is the perfect example of this whole thing. Before she came into the picture, you have everyone who wants to see better representation of the people in government. And then you elect this young woman who is way more representative of the people by both age, demographic, and previous profession, getting put into government, and immediately just getting torrential downpours of shit heaped onto her head for not having previous government experience or military service or whatever else they claimed to not want exclusively, basically for not being a decrepit geriatric white guy. So I call bullshit on the whole thing. I don't think anyone in America really knows what they want. And I don't think that Congress is capable of making good decisions for everyone. I mean, look at how many issues are before them that have more than 70% of public support for that have never even moved forward at all. I mean, all you need to do is look at any social justice issue that has not been protected fully, legitimately via legislation coming out of Congress. Mm-hmm. Most of those have overwhelming American public support, and they're not moving through Congress, even though those people were allegedly elected to represent all of these people who support that idea. So I don't really give a shit what anyone says about Congress being all of a sudden altruistic or caring about us or doing what's best for everyone as a whole, not just looking out for their pocketbook and their donor book. And that's why I ultimately think that if anyone is going to get something that they want passed through Congress and getting their way with the US government as far as legislation or regulation goes, it's going to be a group like BlackRock, because their hands are in everybody's pockets and they own everybody. And all you need to know about any of that is just look at how long the drug trade has been allowed to go on when we could crush the entire black market overnight if we wanted to. Any of the people that we've put into power over the decades and decades and decades of U.S. government foreign involvement. Like, when have they ever been in a position where they were making good choices based on what the American people wanted or what was ultimately good for us? It's just not what Congress does. So at the end of the day, they're going to do what gets them money and gets them more power, because that's ultimately what they want. And everyone just has a defeatist attitude about the whole thing. And again, I will just remind all of you that, yes, while I agree BlackRock having more and more control over more and more of this whole industry and market is not ultimately a good thing, nobody is stealing or forcing you to sell your Bitcoin. So if you truly believe that and you just don't want to get left behind, then I would suggest people stop dumping all of this stuff for no reason.
Yeah, go buy Bitcoin.
Actually believe in it, then get some and tuck it away the same way that you tuck away your gold bars and ingots. No one's like at the pawn shop swing trading their gold ingots on a regular basis the same way that they're trying to fancy themselves, the next Wolf of Wall Street by swing trading crypto.
I feel like that would be a great meme video, though. Like, I kind of just want to get like a computer monitor, a desk, and a folding chair and go set it up at a pawn shop and be like, I'm a day trader out here flipping ingots. This one's 24 carats. I can get about 9 cents. Hang on. Got to make a trade.
Yeah, who knows? Exactly.
Alex, you convinced me I need to become an interrupter. Period. End of story. Don't know if you guys saw that movie, but she was good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to become.
That's funny. I like that. Neil, my friend, what you got for us? I see your hand waving.
Alex, do you want your favorite crypto coins / tokens to be labeled as securities?
I honestly think that's potentially a little bit of a loaded question, because it would depend on whether or not there was then a vehicle for them to just do what they're trying to do if they assumed that label. If that's the case, then yes, absolutely. I want everything that I support to be appropriately labeled and classified so that they have a playbook that they can follow and continue to innovate. Because at the end of the day, the only thing I really give a shit about is whether or not the people who are actually going to release legitimately innovative and useful technology are given the freedom to do so. I don't care how you label it or what package you wrap it up in, as long as those people are allowed to iterate and evolve and invent and release.
Yeah, Neil,
So,
what's your game here?
sure.
Because when you asked that, you sounded like you had a really big curly mustache and you were twisting it in your fingers.
Yeah, that's 100% the vibe.
It's really a question that I don't have an answer to, and I've thought a lot about it and read and done a little bit of research on that.
Mm.
But I mean, that's kind of what this big fight is. You know, are
Mhm.
these securities? Are these not securities? You know, what should they be? So
You know what, Neil? I'll give
I
you an
stand-
actual
I-
answer. Based exclusively on the exact right now climate around what crypto currently is and what securities currently are, yes, I think declare them all securities and then move on and actually allow for a framework to let them exist. However, I don't think that that is ultimately the final resting place for these things in their like final form. But if that is potentially the stopgap to allow all of these iterators to continue to do stuff, then sure, I'm very happy with the label, and I would welcome it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the side that I do want them labeled as securities because I think that will bring along just kind of some general public acceptance with that, which I think is just overall good for the market. It'll help clear up kind of all this muddiness that we've been sitting in for God knows how many years as well. And then let's just kind of move forward with that. So
yeah, agreed 100%.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the SEC, Gary. Label these securities and then get the fuck out of our way, please.
Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of my opinion.
That's a really good question, though, Neil. And I would just add this, that I agree with you both on that take of how it is and therefore what it could do for us in this moment as the world is right now. But I would be concerned in the long term about any action. The action I'm interested in advocating for is the action that fulfills those core promises of crypto, that everybody anywhere who wants it can get it, that they are custodians of it, that it is, theirs however they see fit. And if that aided that, if it made it harder for people to access that promise, then I would say no. It's tough though, because I think the way the world is right now, that would open a lot of doors for a lot of people to do more innovative stuff. That's a good question. I would love to go around. Everybody who's here on stage, everybody who's here in the comments, if you got a final thought, if you got a word of wisdom, a good joke, if you got a last parting question, let's get it. And then let's, send each other off into the weekend looking good, feeling good, loving everybody kind of thing. Craig, my friend, I see you've joined us. Welcome. And I wanted to say to you specifically, we did address your question about ERC 6551. Craig asked a really good question on my Twitter. He said, what would be the benefit of an NFT as a wallet, or having storage be over storing NFTs in a conventional wallet? And so for you, I just want to say again, ERC 6551, you got to go check it out. You got to go listen to Chase Chapman's podcast, On the Other Side, with Benny Zhang. He proposed it. It is an excellent listen. You don't have to be a technical person. It's in the Jumbotron in the Twitter space. You can find it. But my TLDR is that this, like many other EIPs that become ERC token standards, they're going to make it easier for everyday people to truly own their assets and then do more cool stuff with them. Having an NFT, which is a smart contract, gives it the power to not just be a piece of data on someone else's program, on someone else's code, but it really gives you custody over that token and then any other token that falls under its umbrella. It's like having a file folder that lives on Dropbox versus having a file folder on your own private local computer, would be the shortest way I can think about it. And then because it's a folder, you can put all kinds of stuff in there. And the possibilities are pretty endless. My final thought for the day, Alex said to take his opinion about, I think you were talking specifically about the ETF with a grain of salt, because we're just two strangers sharing our opinions on the internet. But here's something which is actually backed by a significant amount of research and has to do with a grain of salt. Did you know that if you're one of those people who hydrates in the morning, not only does that help like wake up your brain, get your circulatory system going, make your skin look good, make you feel better, but if you add just a little bit of salt to that water, not like enough to taste it, not like I just swallowed an ocean, but like, shake, 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 in my 20-ounce glass of water from the salt shaker, that the electrolytes in the salt can speed up the beneficial effects of the water. And they actually help to wake up and stimulate your brain, all that stuff. Salt in the water in the morning. Take it literally with a grain of salt.
Pro tip.
That's my final thought for the day. Yeah. I would love to hear what everybody else has got. Lisa, do you have a final thought for us today? While Lisa gets back to her microphone, how about you, Neil?
So my final thought is that TikTok has released, the AR filters, make your face into a tiger kind of overlay thing.
Sweet.
They have released software where you can use AI. It's a text to AR filter. So have fun with that, Alex. And
what? Okay.
I posted it in the Jumbotron as well. But yeah, that's out.
All right. Get ready. I'm about to be beautiful. Deborah, what about you? Have you got a final thought for us today? Well, we got rugged by Lisa and maybe rugged by Deborah too. The strong and silent types. What can I say? Alex, how about you? Do you have any more, anything to send folks off into the weekend? Anything good? Anything great?
Feeling relatively well met myself, I think.
Feeling well met. Yeah, me too. I will document, though I probably will not post her picture. I will document the trip that Lisa and I make to IKEA and our joyous meeting. I cannot wait for that, Lisa. I'm looking forward to seeing you. And again, I will make a pitch for the Faceless Labs community, the Faceless Many, the Corrupted. If you want more from us, you want to hang out with some great people, whether you're listening now or in the future, who love to talk about blockchain and want to talk about the implications for everyday people, help each other understand it better than you. Yes, you are welcome in our community anytime. You can find all the links in the link in our bio at Faceless Labs. And you can join us back here next week. We do this every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, morning somewhere on the official morning show of the Financial Revolution. Until next time, my friends, rise up.
Hey, I can hear it.
I know. I figured it out. Aren't you so proud of me?
So proud.
You know what? Your takes on this one are a little quiet, though. I think I set the level too.
Say the Heymans are a little faint, but
yeah,
you win some, you lose some.
Hey man in the background. And speaking of life, I put one last little nugget in the Jumbotron for everybody. A cute little tidbit from Michael Saylor about the promise of Bitcoin before you say goodbye. Gotta watch it.
In the pictures you would take to a crystal method, lift you up until you break. It won't stop. I won't come down and keep stop with the tick tock rhythm above for the drop and then above.
Gurus are idiots.
The hit that I was giving, then above again, then above again. Said, how do I get back there to the place where I fell asleep inside you? How do I get myself back to the place where you said I want something else to get me through this semi-time kind of life, baby, I want something else. I'm not listening when you say goodbye. I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The beach gives a feeling, energy feeling. I believe in the faith that grows, and the full light goes can make me cry. When I'm with you, I feel like I could die, and that would be alright. Alright. When the blanket lips, she said she was crossing. The velvet ripped in the sea was chipped on the earth to feel alive. Now I'm struggling to survive those days you were wearing that velvet dress. You're the priestess, I must confess. Those little red panties, they passed the test. So I flip around the belly, face down on the mattress one. And you hold me, and we are broken. Still it's something I wanna get attached to, and I feel myself heavy off the ground. I'm scared, I'm not coming down. No, no. I won't run from my love. She's got my toss down, back down in the smile, but nothing is alright, alright.
I mean, isn't it pretty obvious what's happening here? No one has any clue what's going to happen. The goal here is just to get views. It's not necessarily to educate. It's honestly really annoying, but hey, that's the best we can do.
Not listening
Hey, man.
when you say
I will absolutely die on this hill.
goodbye.
Hey, man.